I'm Carol from Sunbury, Ohio.
I'm a Republican, but I don't care who does the job as long as the job gets done. That's why I like Sherrod Brown. He stood up to both parties on China and worked with Republicans to fight fentanyl because Sherrod fights for Ohio. That's leadership.
Paid for by friends of Sherrod Brown.
I'm Phil Kitramalides.
And I'm Sid Lowe.
And every week we bring you the latest from La Liga in the Spanish football podcast. Sid, this season's going to be amazing, isn't it?
We've got Kylian Mbappe at Real Madrid, Dani Olmo at Barcelona, and Julian Alvarez at Atletico.
Don't forget Nico Williams at Athletic Club as well.
And definitely don't forget Leganés. Their mascot is literally a giant cucumber.
Hear all about it every Monday in the Spanish football podcast.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw, podcasting to you from my field here in the nighttime beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey, and joining me to give their immediate reactions to Liverpool 2, Bologna 0 in the Champions League from Anfield are Dave Hendrick and Hari Sethi. Dave, there was some interesting things about the game, some annoying things, some very, very wonderful things, some interesting stuff about the crowds, a referee who made himself the star of the show. But I would like just to begin this podcast by announcing that I, in honour of the wonderfully monikered Bologna manager, and I'm now changing my name to Oisin Aeronach, because it's the only thing I can think of that's roughly equivalent to Vincenzo Italiano. How fucking magnificent is that as a name? And Harry tells me he's a very angry man. My stream wasn't really showing that so much, but I look forward to chatting about Vincenzo Italiano and the job that his Bologna team did here tonight, Dave. I don't know, did we make them look a little bit better than they actually are? But at times, it seemed to me, and this is a very long-winded way of getting to you, it seemed to me that, as with almost every occasion this season, our greatest enemy is not the opposition, but rather ourselves.
Yeah, Vincenzo Italiano is the most Italian man that is ever Italian.
Yeah.
He was furious for the entirety of the game. Just tantrum after tantrum. It was wonderful to see. You love a good, passionate manager. I think we made them look better than they are, frankly. Look, they're a decent side. They had a good season last year. They finished 5th in Serie A, which nobody predicted before the season. They played some very entertaining football, but they lost their manager in the summer. He went to Juve. They lost their best defender. He went to Arsenal. Their best midfielder is currently out with a torn ACL. And their best striker went to Manchester United. So, complete upheaval for them through the spine of their team. And a very different style of play under Italiano than under Thiago Motta, who, similar enough principles in some ways, but then drastically different in other ways. Motta sees the game in a very different way to how many other managers view the game. He views formations as going from right to left as opposed to from back to front. So just different principles and different ideas. And it's been a slow start for them this season. Now, they've drawn a lot of games, so it's not like they've been easy to beat. It's not like we've just beaten a team that's getting whooped every week. But I do think when you look at them man for man, the two wingers are good players, Orsolini and Ndoye. There's some other solid players. Lucchini at centre-back is good. But there's a lot of average players in that squad. There's none who would get into our starting 11. And yet, I felt like we were just so open at times. And that's going to be problematic when we come up against better teams. And it's not just in this game. It's been an issue in a number of games that our out of possession shape is not great. We're not the most solid. We are quite easy to play through. And against good teams, that will hurt us. Now, we were fortunate enough tonight that they didn't have the players to hurt us. We were fortunate that our goalkeeper made a couple of good saves, that our two centre-backs continue to perform at an incredibly high level. But, it is something we're going to have to tighten up on. Now, on the plus side, we did play some scintillating football at times. There's another world in which we win that game 5 or 6-0 because the final pass is better, because the finishing is a bit better. So there is definitely some positives to take from tonight, but I do think we made it a lot harder work than it needed to be. On the plus side, that's now 6 points. It's probably going to take us 16 or so to be one of the top 8 teams qualifying for the next round. 10 will probably get you through to the playoff round. And we go to Leipzig next, who've just lost at home to a Juventus team who played without their goalkeeper for the last half hour after he was sent off, who gifted them a penalty, who, were 2-1 down with 10 men and then came back to win 3-2. So we should be comfortable going to Leipzig and winning. And we've also seen Real Madrid lose tonight away to Lille. So they're not as formidable yet as I think they will become once everything settles into place. So the Champions League is opening up for us to do really well and qualify for the knockout phases as one of the automatic qualifiers. And that will be a big positive, because then perhaps the last couple of Champions League games, maybe we can rest some players, maybe we can have some rotation and not continue to pile big minutes onto certain players and big mileage onto certain players, in particular Szoboszlai, who did 3 people's running off the ball tonight and doesn't get a fraction of the praise that he wants.
Yeah, that is definitely coming back as a topic of conversation without a doubt. And Harry, just, for what it's worth, a quick glance at that Champions League table after 2 games, it is just reassuring that we have ourselves in that top bracket of teams with maximum points. Also, the interesting stat that I think Arne Slot is the first manager to win 8 of his first 9 Liverpool games. These are all good things. And for all the talk of favourable fixtures, you still have to win those games. And we find ourselves, like I say, in joint top position on points, at least, for our Champions League group, whatever thing this is, and sitting top of the Prem. Now, Dave makes an interesting point, and a very valid point, that you do worry about our openness in terms of our defensive capabilities around the middle of the park there. But when we have the ball, and we are quite often in possession of it, that area of the field can be quite wonderful for us at times. And there's a lot to like, Harry, about this early season version of Slot's Liverpool.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is the right time, the right position in different tables to be having gripes about some of the negatives. But I'm happy to complain about the side when it's top of the league, and has won 8 out of the opening 9 games. I think, Dave's points are clear. I think there's an understanding that we're too open at times. Although, leading into the positives, just to start off with, I mean, I think I just saw Dan Kennett just tweeted around. 9 games, 5 clean sheets, 6.3 XG conceded, and about 2 of that was when we were leading by 3 goals. I think it doesn't tell the complete story. I think there's been a couple moments in a few games where we've been a bit lucky not to perhaps concede or be punished in certain ways. But very impressed by what I've seen so far. I think also impressed by the comments that you're getting from the manager, right? I mean, we're not getting comments from somebody who is acting as though everything is perfect and this is wonderful. It's exactly what he wants. I think even in really strong performances, he's come out and said or highlighted areas that he's unhappy with, both on individual performances and in portions of the game where he didn't think that we were playing as well as we should have been. And what's been nice about that is it's passed the eye test, right? I mean, stuff that we've seen when we've come on here, especially on Raws, right, where you're all emotional and you're talking about the game you've just seen. but we do try and be objective. We do talk about the good and the bad. I'm hearing a lot of that from the new manager, and I think that's can only stand us in good stead. We try to pursue that number 6. There's clear understanding that there are ways to tighten this side up, but so far, I think on the ball, I think certainly there's real encouraging signs. I think a number of players look rejuvenated as well. I think Alisson, was it in midweek, was doing an interview, I think it was with Joe Hart actually, where he was talking about the new energy that the manager brought into the side and sort of revitalising a couple of different players. I think you can see that. I think Trent looks renewed purpose. Salah, I mean, looks like the same guy, but I'm sure he enjoys the challenge of impressing a new boss. And there's a couple other figures in there as well who look like their jobs have been simplified. Diaz is another one, right? So yeah, all in all, very encouraged by what I saw tonight. And I thought even Szoboszlai, who I think has obviously received a bit of stick later, because there has to be a scapegoat, right, for every season. I thought, the one part of his game that I suppose is never in doubt, but you saw it again tonight, just the ridiculous off the ball work that he got through. Whilst we are, a bit more open than we'd like, he's the one who's charging down and trying to clean up a lot of situations. That's not where we want to be by the end of this process. But yeah, I thought he was one of a few tonight who were really, really encouraging.
Yeah, you could nearly pick any player, and go off on a little tangent discussion about them this evening. For sure, Mo Salah is a half-hour chat in and of himself. A remarkable individual who was genuinely stinking the place up on a regular basis, and then just presents a couple of bits of absolute brilliance. And
well, Dave mentioned, right? I mean, Dave said it could have been 5 or 6-0. I think that it's a bit ironic because I think he obviously gets the assist for the goal. It's a wonderful pass. He gets the amazing second goal in the end. But if he'd had his range in, I think there was like 3 or 4 pretty easy kind of final balls, tap-ins that would have resulted in more or less, one-on-ones or tap-ins that he, inexplicably sort of mixed up.
Which, once there's that other end product we'll take. And Dave, just to look quickly at the lineup, the Reds lineup, because we're not going to do a whole lot on Bologna here. They're a team we play once, barring some sort of miracle on their part. So I'm not sure it as you've done as good an analysis as I've heard of them during the week there in terms of assessing their strengths and weaknesses and how they have been quite diminished between the loss of manager and their star players and actually injuries as well. But it's the Liverpool lineup I'm interested in. I say this for one specific reason. Again, he's almost gone with his full-strength team. The only reason he hasn't gone with his full-strength team, Arne's preferred 11, is because of the little knock or niggle or whatever it was that Shaw has suffered. And so we see Darwin get his chance. But aside from that, it's his full-strength 11. And I mentioned this to you because we go out in the comparative Lions den that is Crystal Palace at 12:30. A concept that strikes fear into the heart of those of us with longer memories. But to be fair, the Klopp era put a lot of that shit to bed, Dave. We did sort of lay a lot of those ghosts. So now it's just a game, to be fair. But those fans are always up for it. It's a noisy place. It is the 12:30. We have been on till late tonight. And it just seems strange to me that he didn't shake it up a little bit more in terms of first team selection. Is it simply, do you think, a rhythm thing that it's early in the season, so lads need to play? And maybe if you wouldn't mind, have you a theory? Is it something to do with a murdered cat, or does he have nudes? Why must Mo Salah play all the minutes? It's remarkable to me, and I think it must be just because he's a narky bollocks. There has to be something there. But just in terms of the red lineup and the comparative strength in it, considering how many games we are heading into.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a couple of things to factor in here. So it's very clear Arne Slot has a different approach to rotation and squad management than Jurgen Klopp did. And Arne subscribes to the Dutch theory of sports periodization, which is that you can lighten players' workloads in training and allow them to play more games more frequently. And Raymond Verheeren is kind of the pioneer of this, the infamous Twitter egg, who for many years spent his time on social media slating David Moyes as an example, Jurgen Klopp as another example, Antonio Conte, like a wide range of managers, many of whom have had, real success. And while we like to poke fun at Moyes because he proved that you don't need trophies to be a winner, but he is a winner, ultimately, he did a very good job at Everton that a lot of us looked at and thought, you know what, it's fun to make fun of them, but he does have them punching above their weight quite often, given the lack of resources and the lack of talent. He did a good job at West Ham, multiple top half finishes, won a European trophy. But Verheyen had this view on how managers should manage their squad. And he wrote a book, I think part of the title is Always Play Your Best 11. And the premise of it is largely that you can lower the intensity in training and you can allow players an easier training schedule and regime, and then you can play them more often, and that's often where they'll get a lot of their fitness from, is from the games. And he's been very successful in the game. He's worked with the Dutch national team, he's worked as the coaching member of many staffs of top managers, so he's not some crank. Despite what people try to make him out to be, he is very good in his field. He's highly respected. And when Arne was at Feyenoord, he didn't rotate a whole ton. He would play his best 11 as often as he possibly could. And when he was hired, one of the things we heard about is one of the reasons they really liked him was his ability to keep his players fit and keep them on the pitch. So if that's what he does and it works for him, then who are we really to suggest otherwise? We're used to a certain way of doing things. And English football in general, not just Jurgen Klopp, English football in general, since the Wenger days, has become a lot more about squad rotation, about managing loads and managing minutes. And the advancements that have been made in the English game aren't necessarily the same way things are viewed on the continent by certain managers, by certain coaches, by certain schools of thought. So I don't really have an issue with him playing the team he played tonight, especially considering we play Palace at the weekend and then it's the international break.
Yeah, fair. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? Because, as from the point perspective that you just outlined, the way we have been schooled over the last few years, it seems counterintuitive. And then if you had, for example, a team of Ledley Kings and Paul McGraths, that's exactly what you'd be doing.
That's what they did for years and it prolonged their careers.
Yeah.
And look, Jurgen's method didn't work. Jurgen's method of squad rotation didn't work. Look how many injuries we had year after year after year. So while it may have seemed the common sense thing to do to rotate the way Jurgen did, it didn't work for us because we were destroyed by injuries in multiple seasons under his watch. Now, it's not his fault, but that's just what happened. So to say that what Arne Slot is doing is wrong, we haven't had a player go off injured in a match yet. We've had a couple of players pick up knocks in training, but nobody's gotten injured in a match yet. And of the players that picked up the knocks, it was Curtis Jones, it was Harvey Elliott, it's Federico Chiesa now. They're squad players. One of the reasons they picked up injuries is because they weren't playing frequently enough. Now with Harvey, it's a little bit different because I think it is an impact injury he has. But ultimately, the players who are playing are reporting no ill effects. There's no sign of, Robbo got a knock at the weekend, he was taken off straight away, and he's ready to go again tonight. And he didn't look like he was hampered by it at all. Ibu's playing the best football, I think, of his career. And he's playing outrageous stuff. Yeah. And he's playing every game. I think with Mo, I can only imagine he's an absolute pest. Imagine having him sat next to you, poking you in the arm non-stop, going, here, when am I going on? 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 He's like that drunk friend who's trying to tell you the same story for the 14th time. And eventually you just listen to the story in the hope that you might get 5 minutes apiece. So I think that might be why Anna doesn't want him on the bench. Put him on the pitch. He can't talk to me when he's out there.
Makes sense.
But I do think there will come times in the season where he will change things up a little bit. I also think you have to look at the fact that we're winning games. As Hari pointed out, or maybe it was yourself, sorry, maybe one of you pointed out, we've won 8 from 9. The team is winning games. You don't really want to change a winning team. We're just so indoctrined into the idea because Rafa would change winning teams and Houllier changed winning teams and Rodgers changed winning teams and Jurgen did it. We're so indoctrined into the mindset that that's the way to do it that we as a collective footballing community that follow the Premier League don't really seem willing to be open to other ideas. But when we look at the team that finished second the last 2 years in Arsenal, one of the things we always pointed out was, aren't they lucky that they can play their best 11 pretty much every week? Nobody was talking about them needing to rotate. Nobody questioned why Arteta wasn't rotating. People just said, aren't they very lucky that they don't get any injuries? That they're not having to change things week to week. So it worked for them. Now, ultimately, they fell short of the title, but that was because of a lack of quality. It wasn't because of injuries or anything. We have fallen short of titles because of injuries.
So for the record, so people can look this up, the Raymond the Egg Verheijen's system or theory is called periodization, yeah?
Yeah, sports periodization. I think it's called sports periodization, always play your best 11. I'll just check that now. And to be fair, someone I know, football periodization, always play your best 11.
Right.
And by all accounts, it's quite a good book. It's highly rated, and I've seen people I would respect in the space be very complimentary of him. Others that I would respect in the space think very little of him, but that's always going to be the case when you've got a different idea to what the commonplace idea is.
I'm all for the rehabilitation of the egg if it means we have positive associations with it. Hari, let's start the analysis of the game itself. It won't be long until we get into some comments about the referee, but let's you and I take it up as far as our goal, and then we'll go a little bit further, obviously, but we'll pause there because it does warrant comment, I think, to say the least. We will at some points have to refer to Nikola Debanovic, who is our referee tonight. An odd chap, a very sensitive man. But we'll look at the first 10 minutes and the goal that opened scoring for us. We started off with our hair on fire. Great play by Gravenberch and Mo Salah led to a Gravenberch cross that was somehow not connected with by either Dom Szoboszlai or McAllister. We had a corner on 3 minutes and it didn't beat the first man from Robbo. But we looked very bright, full of intent in those opening minutes. Now, they did, on the back of that period, on 9th minute, have the ball in the net via Dalinga, who was offside. It was a simple ball sort of through our lines, and Dalinga made his run. He was offside. It wasn't even a dubious one. So you're left with the question, Hari, is that a wake the fuck up moment, or is it well done, that line moment? And we have to I always lean into the giving the defenders credit there, because we kind of have to, because it's something that we do and we've continued to do. And when they get it right, I prefer to give them credit, but I can understand how people spin narratives their own way, and I'm open to any discussion you have on that. On 10 minutes, though, we do go a goal up from McAllister. It's a really nice move. Some good composure in the build-up from Darwin to take the ball in and pick out Mo out wide when he could have done something a bit more flustered. And Mo cuts in, digs a little in-swinging cross to the back post from right to left. And McAllister is coming charging side by side with Luis Diaz. He gets there first. He's about a yard out to sweep it home. Sort of beautifully timed run, just meets it perfectly to, like I say, volley home from about a yard out. It's a lovely flowing move, and we had shown smashing intent, really looked up for it. I thought there was a lovely energy to our play in those first 10 minutes. I want to pause it there, and we will go on. You and I talk about another bit, maybe up as far as Virgil's yellow card, about 25 or 26, but I want to give you a chance to talk about those opening minutes and the goal.
Yeah, I was really impressed by the start, actually. I thought the intensity was clearly there. I think, again, some comments from Slot around, like reminding the competition what they were missing last year with Liverpool not being in the Champions League. This is obviously very much where we belong, at Anfield, like wanting to put on a show. And I thought, right from the off, you could see that intensity. One of the things that really stood out to me, actually, was just how crisp some of the passing was. I think there's been a few games recently, especially the Wolves game I can think of, where just a lot of under-hit passing that was really frustrating. I didn't realise that we would get that later in this game itself. But at least for the opening patch, a lot of the passing was super crisp. A number of players there who are great at those big diagonals. Trent and Virgil just trying to show off that they could do those pinpoint passes. People receiving the ball, driving, as you mentioned, Grav early on, showing that intent as well, and that ability to glide over the turf that has proved so useful for him while he's tried to adapt to this kind of role that he's playing at the moment. But a really positive start, I thought, and exactly the kind of start you want to see at home to a team who's coming into the Champions League for the first time in a very, very, very long time into the elite competition. So I thought it was really encouraging start. And the goal itself, as you mentioned, Darwin showing nice bit of composure. I thought he started well, actually, and we could talk a little bit about how he faded, but started well and passes it to Mo, and it's a beautiful pass, pinpoint pass. I think was it Dom who was just behind McAllister when he practically sort of volleys it into the net, where it was more or less on the line. Beautiful assist, which will be a topic that comes up with Mo, as we've sort of mentioned, right? His range and where it was throughout the evening. But even with McAllister, I think just one thing that was occurring to me whilst I was watching this game was just feels a little bit strange that this is McAllister's first game, or like one of his first games in the Champions League, and it's his first goal in the Champions League. He just very much seems an elite level player now, right? And you expect to see him in these kind of circumstances. So you sort of forget to yourself that's a really big moment for that guy personally, right? He's won the World Cup, he's done all this, but he's now in Champions League, he's playing at Anfield, and he's scoring, and I think you can tell that. And he did a post-match interview as well, and looked chuffed to bits, as he does at the end of every game, to be honest. I think he's just very much enjoying it. But really encouraging start, like exactly what you'd want to see in this kind of game, that intensity, that desire there from the off.
Yeah, there's something about Mac. He just seems like a genuinely lovely lad. I know we could say that about a lot of our players, but he wears that very much on his face.
The Instagram captions as well, Trev. I'm not sure if you've seen them. Every single game is it's just so earnest. He's so delighted about what's going. It's actually giving me Juan Mata post-match blog vibes, to be honest.
Mata's post-match blog.
Just a very decent chap in bad circumstances, unfortunately.
I hadn't thought about that for ages. That's fantastic. You mentioned Darwin. I want to focus on one thing here, because soon after the goal, 5 minutes after the goal, in fact, Darwin has swept the ball with fantastic venom, a gorgeous finish into the back of the net. But I'll give you one guess as to what he was. And it's just where he seems to live, alas. 18 minutes in, we had another incredible move. This one ended with Mo setting the ball to Dom Szoboszlai, and he shoots sort of across the face of goal, misses narrowly at the far post. Steve McManaman was telling us all that he really, really should have done better with it, and I don't know. I only saw the one replay, and it seemed a bit of a harsh comment. It was a lovely move, though. Again, we saw then another gorgeous feature of Liverpool's potential play is when Ali has the ball in his hands, and the fact that he moves it so quick. One of his deliveries on about 20 odd minutes to Mo was absolutely outrageous, and Mo took the ball in with great aplomb, as he does, because he's got incredible touch, and then absolutely makes a balls of it, which is it was just a perfect moment to sum up what was just nowhere near a perfect performance. Like, we do these amazing things like Ali's delivery and Mo's touch, and then something awful would happen to ruin it. And then on 26 minutes, where we'll pause, you and I, Virgil picks up a card. Virgil has never looked more absolutely irritated in his life, and it summed up, I think, how most of us were feeling about this referee throughout. I thought it was soft as fuck for a yellow, I'll be honest with you. It's not by far the worst decision that he makes. There are several worse ones coming up, but it just seemed to me like that possibly set the tone for a lad who was going to then struggle a little bit. He felt like a lad who was trying to assert his authority, and it was kind of tragic to watch. Anything about those moments, whether it was Darwin's failure to bend or time his run, or Ali's delivery, or anything you want to pick up in that little spot?
On the Darwin chance, I mean, same as you, I was very happy to see him dispatch it in the way in which he did. Right, I mean, I think again that's often been something that we've wanted to see. It's just that ruthless kind of. I mean, not that it was the hardest finish in the world, but you're just like, be efficient, be ruthless. The bending of the run, surely that has got to be something we can teach this guy. Surely he's so fast, just doesn't need to do that. And I hope that he's one of these players that's, I mean, Slot's already obviously trying to improve a number of players, and if we can get him to be a bit more, not even a system player, but just a bit more effective, then that's going to be terrific for us. Probably worked hard tonight, but just again, holding the ball. Actually not losing it and joining in and build up in ways in which we've seen Diego do for us. It's just not supernatural for Darwin, it seems, but hopefully that does come as the season progresses. He'll obviously get chances, right? And the ref, and yeah, it's rare that you see, I think, Van Dijk as visibly pissed off and annoyed at a referee as he was. I think after he got that yellow, there were multiple moments in the game where the channel I was watching on, you saw a lot of camera close-ups of Virgil just asking the ref, like, yeah, how about that? How about that? Was that a foul? Was this a foul? So constantly asking him because he was really pissed off. And I think then that Ibu yellow card is probably the pièce de résistance of this guy's evening. I think as a referee, he very much had that nightclub bouncer kind of vibe about him, where he's desperate to exert his authority, even if it's just to tell you that you can't wear those trainers and come in here, mate, unfortunately. So yeah, he did seem to be that kind of character and had a bunch of comical moments. But again, I think even up to 26 minutes, I thought that period, exemplified by what I was saying, right? That's the sharp passing, the crisp passing, the intensity. There's a bit better decision making. Mo is someone that we've mentioned there with that final ball, but a couple of different narrow misses there. We could easily have been 3 up by the half-hour mark, to be honest. So, yeah, really encouraging start, and just shame that we couldn't quite maintain that level of concentration, that level of accuracy when it came to our passing as the game went on.
And Dave, we certainly didn't, because as Hari set it up nicely there, our concentration levels fell off a cliff pretty much around that same time. 28 minutes, they hit the bar via deflection. Again, on 28 minutes, we sort of move up the field and Darwin hits one powerfully over, but it's well over from outside the box. But then we cough up possession again, and there's a brilliant free kick in from the right-hand side, our left, headed back across goal. And they're very unlucky that it goes off Posh, who's sliding in at the near post there for the cutback header, and it just goes out off him. It's an unlucky moment for them. A minute later, Ndoye hits the post. We were wide open. He just cuts in through us. And it just felt like we were sloppy. Again, this is going towards what I was saying to you about how we're kind of our own worst enemy. On 32, I think Trent lost the ball to Ndoye in a really daft area. And Ndoye's pass to Urbanski, who's in a central area, is good. And his effort probably should be better, if we're being honest. It's very well saved from Ali. And at this stage, you're thinking, how many chances are we going to cough up in a short period of time? Because that's from 28 to 32. They've had 3 separate opportunities. Hit the bar, drawn a save from him, and the dangerous free kick. Hit the bar, hit the post, the save from Ali, and a dangerous free kick. Like, how many things can we cough up in the space of 5 fucking minutes? We actually do shake ourselves out of it a little bit. There's a lovely bit of first-time football by Trent and Dom. Dangerous passes in dangerous areas, but beautifully executed first time. Great direction on them. And we make this build-up play, and it gets to Mo Salah at the end, and it's his pass that makes a balls of it. Some nice play led to a corner in 37. And from that corner, the thing that Harry was mentioning there, the double yellow for Ibu and Bukema, who are sort of playing patty cakes with each other like every pair of players do at every set piece. And he comes in, he gives the double yellow, and they go straight back to doing it. And I'm thinking, right, you're a soft lad, because if you really had the courage of your convictions and they do exactly what you've done, I know in my career, if I say something and then I don't follow up on it, lads take advantage. And why in the name of God did he pick them up on it if he wasn't going to be consistent?
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.